Week 12 reaction show. Today's show will include the Chiefs narrowly escaping the Panthers. The Cowboys top the Commanders in a thriller. The Texans blow an opportunity against the Titans. Bears and Vikings go to overtime. Tell you who wins later, you know. The Dolphins are trying to make a playoff push. Let's talk about the biggest takeaways from the Week 12 action. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by Circa Las Vegas Resort and Casino. I'm Jim Coventry. You could catch me over at Jim Coventry NFL. Instant reaction number one. The Chiefs narrowly escape the Carolina Panthers. Weird game. You never know, right? I mean, when you go into this game, the Chiefs lost to the Bills last week. They're on the road. Mentally, I talk about it all the time. There's a subliminal switch. It's a game played by human beings. The Chiefs obviously know who they are and what they're about, and they know the Panthers come into this game 3-7, but not a good team. So can you really get up for them? And you know, if you're not in this arena, I played baseball, so I kind of understood how it worked. You don't really know what to make of it. And you think you're supposed to get up for every game. You're supposed to. But human nature says that doesn't happen. And give Carolina credit. We'll get them in a minute. Give them credit. They played a great game. They almost won. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. The Chiefs do what winning teams do. They eventually find a way to pull it out at the end. And really, ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? Winning and losing is a finer margin than we think. Patrick Mahomes throws 3 touchdowns in this game. 2 of them go to Noah Gray. Second game in a row? Noah Gray, 2 touchdowns. Best receiver on the team this week. Again, weird. Travis Kelce, 6 for 62. He was fine. You played him. You were good with that. DeAndre Hopkins scored a late touchdown to bail out a 5 for 35 day. Not a good day. Kareem Hunt, obviously 16 for 68 on the ground. Less efficient each week. We've talked about it. He's done the job. He's done what they've needed him to do. Helps him win most of those games. They held up Pacheco. I think it's smart. I think it's very smart. I think Isaiah Pacheco, when he gets back, get him in, get him ready for the playoffs. What does the regular season matter to the Chiefs? What does it matter, right? But Mahomes for fantasy, if you played him, 269 and 3 touchdowns. You definitely didn't complain about that. So that definitely worked out. But here's the game now. So defensively, Carolina's moving the ball. And Jalen Coker's out. So Thielen plays his first game back from injury. Missed a long time with the hamstring injury. David Moore. They have 4 receivers on their roster. And they ended up bringing Devin Tompkins in to play, probably from the practice squad. But they had 4 receivers on their roster. That was it. And then Coker out. Well, we're down to 3, right? So basically it's Thielen, it's Liggett, and it's David Moore. And of course, everybody had David Moore in their fantasy lineups. Moore goes 6 for 81 and a touchdown on 10 targets. I really don't want to throw shade on David Moore. Throughout his career, he's been around a while. I know it's Seattle. He had some games there. It's like, I don't know what the disconnect is, but he shows signs that this man can play. He's been able to play, but yet he hasn't kept a role in the league. So it must be consistency day to day. And I think that's what it comes down to, right? That consistency thing. But Thielen looked good in his return. 3 for 57, 2 for 44 early in that game. And then he didn't do much. They targeted him in the red zone a couple times. He got interfered with in the end zone. He got a hit in the head on a 2-point conversion. He could have had a better fantasy day. It could have been decent. Xavier Liggett was on his way. We recommend, and not Xavier Liggett, I'm sorry, Jatavian Sanders. We recommended him as a dart throw tight end this week. Chiefs don't really guard the middle of the field. Tight ends eat on them. And Sanders is having a half, 3 for 49. Man, poor dude, he got knocked over, fell on his head, his neck injury. They carried him up. Poor man went to the hospital. I hope he's fine. Hope he checks out well. But yeah, Sanders is having a heck of a game. Chuba Hubbard, late touchdown. You'll take that. So, but overall in this game, the Panthers score 3 first half field goals. So the Chiefs are bending but not breaking. And again, they go in the halftime 20-9. 10.5 point favorites. They're up by 11. And then they each trade touchdowns in the third quarter. And so it looks like, Chiefs are probably going to hang on. Nope. Carolina makes a mad dash late. They get a field goal. Then they get that last drive. Very crazy. Last drive, all the way down the field. They end up getting a touchdown to Dave. That was a Hubbard touchdown, actually. And then they go for 2, and they get that as well. So, yeah, So they puts them right in position where they tie the game. Here's the problem. They left Patrick Mahomes about 2 minutes over. Mahomes starts moving him down the field. And of course, Mahomes breaks a run for 33 yards, sets him right up for the game-winning field goal, and it's over. And it's like that. But I want to say something about Bryce Young. I've said before, he's not an NFL starter. I might start rethinking that. He looked decent in his last game. He looked good today. Situation around him, good offensive line. Thielen back. Lee Get's a good player. Sanders, obviously, he's, emerging guy. I might be softening my stance on Bryce Young. Is he going to be a superstar? Probably not. But could he be a lower-end starter? I'm starting to soften on that. I think that can happen. Now, Jonathan Brooks, a lot of people were upset. A lot of people want him to get used. Myself and Mario Puig on Sirius XM and myself this morning on the start situation. I told people, I go, look, I go, you might get the Miles Sanders role out of Jonathan Brooks, which is normally 6 to 9 touches. Didn't get that. 2 carries, 7 yards, 4-yard run, 3-yard run. That was it. Easing him back for sure. So that said, 6 teams run by. So you had to take your dart throw and you had to do what you had to do. But obviously, right now, until you see Jonathan Brooks getting 8 touches in a game, roughly, you can't start him. You can't start him. And I don't know what their plans are. Earlier, they were in the season, they were saying they could shut him down the whole season. They didn't do that. But playing that little, team's 3-8. So be careful with that. Be careful with that. But yeah, probably. But again, the Chiefs do what winning teams do. Get an important win, 10-1, continue on. Instant reaction, number 2. The Cowboys top the Commanders in a thriller. This was a weird game. First of all, what I want to walk you through is the fourth quarter. End of the third quarter, Dallas is up 10-9. Now, Austin Seibert had missed a field goal. I believe he missed an extra point. Aubrey missed a field goal. Aubrey hit the upright. 10-9, end of the third quarter. And this game ends up with 60 points. So 41 points in the fourth quarter. Insanity. We'll walk through the course. So Aubrey starts it out. Those 41 points came in the last 8 minutes and 11 seconds of the fourth quarter. So almost a half a quarter, 41 points. So Aubrey kicks a field goal. Dallas is up 4. And then Dallas gets the ball back quickly, drives the field, 44-yard drive. Luke Schoonmaker scores the touchdown. Game's over. 20-9. Dallas wins. Yep, it's it. And so now I'll backtrack. To this point, Jaden Dale's had a nice touchdown run in the second quarter. But this offense looked like the offense I was criticizing last week. Cliff Kingsbury doing the same Cliff Kingsbury stuff. Predictable. Coaches have film. He's not making any adjustments. It's going to be this the rest of the way. And then down 20-9, the game goes into scramble mode. Now, Dallas is playing like a team with an 11-point lead. Full disclosure on that. They were not getting as aggressive. Micah Parsons having a big impact on the game early. And, Dallas thinks, all right, so fine. They scored 5-16 up 11. So Washington moves ball down the field. Takes them a couple minutes. 3 minutes left. Zach Ertz catches a touchdown. Daniels runs into 2. All right, now it's a 3-point game. All right, now we got a game. But then the ensuing kickoff, Coventry Turpin goes 99 yards for a touchdown. So 13 seconds between plays, Dallas is back up 10. So they got it. Nope. Austin Seibert, 51-yard field goal. They were in a 6-play drive, go about 37 yards. And now all of a sudden, Seibert kicks a field goal, 27-20. All right. So now when you watch this game, it should be over. First of all, the Commanders are sitting on their own 14-yard line. So they don't get a good kick return. And basically all Dallas has to do is tackle them, and it's over. That's it. Not a Hail Mary, but somehow Dallas, like many teams this year, we're not going to cover Terry McLaurin. We're not going to bother him. Whatever happens, happens. And he catches a ball, not a deep shot, and all of a sudden he's running through everybody. Nobody's looking to tackle him. McLaurin had to be shocked. He goes 86 yards for a touchdown, and with 21 seconds left, they're all set to tie this game. Seibert misses the extra point. You can't make this stuff up. Cannot make this stuff up. So McLaurin would have had his 4th game in 5, I believe, under 30 yards. But again, this insane play puts him over 100 with a touchdown. So it pans out. We recommend to start him. We're glad you obviously start Terry McLaurin. You don't need me to tell you that. But then what does Dallas do? So this was a dumb play. So Washington is down a point, and they go onside kick. The Dallas guy, and I don't know his name, Thomas is his last name. I don't know who he is, special teamer. He grabs the onside kick, and he runs it in for a touchdown. Now, great, but here's the problem. Dallas is up 8. There's 14 seconds, but we've seen this team. They had the Noah Brown Hail Mary against the Bears. They just had a Terry McLaurin 86-yard touchdown. Do you really want to lead this team 14 seconds with a one-score game? If this guy Thomas just kneels down, game's over. Takes the onside kick, lays out, it's over. But fortunately, no miracle. They got one play to get them closer to Hail Mary range. Didn't happen. Although the ball got tipped around again. But didn't convert a touchdown. So wild game. For fantasy, I was very concerned. I made some pretty strong comments after Cooper Rush took over that. I just did not think CeeDee Lamb was going to be a factor. Well, I was wrong. I was clearly wrong. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of upside, but CeeDee Lamb, 2 games in a row, again, 12 targets here. He had 17 PPR points against Houston, 10 for 67 here. And, on the start sit show, though, today, I was not a fool. I told people, you got to start him. You can't sit CeeDee Lamb. You just can't do it. He's going to get targets, and he did. And so this is what he is right now. Will he get a touchdown eventually? He'll eventually get a touchdown. So that said, CeeDee Lamb's going to be a great floor play going forward. No question. Luke Schoonmaker steps in for Jake Ferguson, gets that late touchdown, so he cashes. Really not much else. Rico Dowdle did fine, 86 yards on the ground, another 12 through the air. So we said as a volume play, he was a good fantasy play. He worked out. Cooper Rush, if you had to use him in 2-quarterback league, certainly aren't complaining. A couple touchdown passes, it works. Washington, I already said my piece about them. Although I do want to point this out, Brian Robinson early hurt an ankle. 5 carries, 13 yards. He comes back in, but the fact he only got 5 carries, again, I'm watching 7 games at a time, so it's very hard to see who's on and off the field. But apparently with Eckler getting 9 carries, Robinson must not have been able to play his regular role. So whatever the ankle injury is, we'll find out more about that later, but we'll have to look that one up. But that could be a potential problem. And then on the kick return at the end of the game that Washington, last one, Austin Eckler gets a concussion. So we'll have to see how this shakes out. But preemptive waiver wire, keep your eye out on Jeremy McNichols and maybe even Chris Rodriguez. If both of them are out, we'll see what happens. Maybe neither of them are out, but just again, going forward, just keep an eye on that for the waiver wire. Noah Brown did fine, 6 for 71. He gets targets every week. He's not going to do great every week, but definitely that works there. So yeah, you're fine there. But anyway, so that was a great game, but Dallas wins. Now Washington sits at 7-5. And all of a sudden, what we thought was like this great opportunity season, schedule got a little tougher. Should not have lost to Dallas. Right now, they're 3 behind the Eagles. And the Eagles already beat them. And, as we're looking at the wild card race, they're still okay there for that 7th spot right now. Excuse me. They're behind Minnesota and Green Bay, who have 2 and 3 losses, or 2 losses behind them. But with Arizona, they're like right with Arizona, and the Rams. So if Washington goes on any type of a losing streak, actually, that 7th spot won't be safe. So they're going to have to figure things out kind of quick here. But it was a time that they really couldn't afford to have that happen. The end of the season is getting closer. Catch the big game poolside at Stadium Swim at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. 6 temperature-controlled pools, a massive 143-foot screen, booming game sound, plus view the pyrotechnics and visual effects throughout the game. You can grab the best seat in the sun with day beds, poolside boxes, cabanas, and more. Stadium Swim's big game viewing party is February 9th, only at Circa Resort and Casino. I've been there. It's a mecca. Space is going fast. Reserve your spot today at circalasvegas.com. All right, instant reaction number 3. Got a couple comments I see here. I think I'll cover those games in a bit. So the Texans, again, instant reaction number 3, if I didn't say that, is the Texans. They come out of this thing, they blow an opportunity against the Tennessee Titans. So as to what's going to happen with this one, interesting. But it was not a fun game to watch. I will tell you that one. So the Texans blowing opportunities. First of all, I'll start at the end. And in the end was that they had an opportunity to tie the game, send it to overtime. Kaimi Fairbairn set up for a nice little chippy, tied the game, shanks it. So there's that. Texans have played well this point. Now, how did the Titans score 32 points? Nick Westbrook-Akine again gets a blown coverage. That's like his thing. Not every week. He's had some contested catches in the end zone. He scored 6 and 7 games. Westbrook-Akine catches 2 passes. One of them's a 38-yard touchdown on a blown coverage. So if you started him in fantasy, just keep riding the train. It's very hard to bet a player like Westbrook-Akine continuing that type of touchdown luck, 6 and 7 games. At some point, that's going to go completely dry. But again, you got him, you need him, you start him. Who's to argue, right? And then Chiggy Okonkwo gets 1 target. This wasn't really a blown coverage. It was just a seam throw, and nobody was there to tackle him. So 70 yards later, Okonkwo goes in. But otherwise, look, Tony Pollard, no Tyjae Spears. So we always know when Spears is out, Pollard's going to get extra work, 24 carries, goes 119 yards and a touchdown. So Pollard does what we expected, has a big game, big enough. And then Calvin Ridley, I think it's 4 weeks in a row he's gotten it done, 93 yards through the air. So it's just 6 targets. And but they didn't throw a lot. They didn't have to. The game was close throughout. Tennessee had a lead for much of the game. And so Lev's only to throw 24 passes. So they were completely balanced, 33 runs actually, but 8 of them were Levis runs. And so there was that. And a couple were kneel down. So pretty much balanced run pass. But Houston's the issue. Joe Mixon had one of his first bad games that he played healthy, 14 for 22. And then he did have 5 catches for 23. So if you're in a PPR league, you cobbled out 9.5 points. Honestly, in a bad game like that, very hard to argue it. Nico Collins looks great. He had a touchdown, I believe, called back by penalty. It might have been an illegal shift, I think it was. But he had 5 for 92 and a touchdown. Penalty kept him from what would have been 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But again, can't get greedy there. Tank Dell had a 39-yard catch and another catch for, I believe, 33. Or no, it was like that. Anyway, it was the 39-yard catch is the big one. 72 yards on 3 catches. If you played him, you deal with it. But it's been a problem for him. He's not going to have a lot of big games. I'm not going to get back to this all the time, but I said in the preseason, once they cut their fullbacks, they were going to see nothing but 2 high shells. And that's what you don't want for Tank Dell. You want to manipulate where you have 1 safety down, you can get him over the top, and not the case. So yeah, Tank Dell, like he gets enough targets, 5 targets, so I got him there. But other than that, CJ Stroud throws a couple picks, and again, it's just not working. They need to fix their offense in the offseason. They need to get the fullbacks back. They need to draw in. They need to draw safety in, and because Stroud was like a gold player under the Slowick system of last year, which is 49ers, the Dolphins, and to a degree the Ravens, and so that works all there. So yeah, real interesting there. So that said, look, the Texans are 7-5. They probably win their division. You got the Colts. Where are the Colts? I'll tell you in a second what the Colts are. Colts are 5-7, 2 games apart. Can the Colts win? Yeah, but like we just had a comment that Malone thinking that Steichen needs to be fired. I don't know what much Steichen can do, but he's not really overall helping the cause. So yeah, I mean, not so good there. But Houston's going to win this division probably. I mean, like I said, Colts have a shot. Obviously, clearly mathematically alive, and when they play the Texans, they can beat them. So there's that, but. Yeah, the Texans probably walk into the playoffs, and right now the way they're playing, though, they're a 1-and-done team. It was good to see Will Anderson back. They had 8 sacks. They were all, and obviously they were playing. They were like down so many right tackles in Tennessee, like how many they've gone through this year. So it wasn't like a great impressive idea, but they played great. So defensively they're fine. But again, they took a late safety because after Fairbairn missed a field goal, they got the ball deep in their territory somehow, and I can't remember how they got against 7 games are on, right? And then they took a safety because they were like pinned like 4th and long. So then it didn't pan out. So anyway, that said, the Texans just not so hot right now, and I don't expect them to figure it out this year. But Collins will be fine. Mixon will go back to being fine. So we're kind of in good shape there. All right, I will go over more of this week's reactions after we take a short break. All right, instant reaction. Number 4, the Bears and the Vikings go to overtime, and the Vikings pull off the win. All right, so as we look at this game, and I'm typing in the time here, pardon me. Okay, so as we said, the Bears played well. Thomas Moore took over the offense last week, And we saw Caleb Williams getting the ball out a little bit more quickly. Now they played Green Bay. They had success on the ground. Green Bay's not a great defense. So that said, I kind of hedged it. Like I was happy they played well. It was good for the Bears. DJ Moore schemed up on a lot of good screen passes. They had some really good pulling guards on a couple of the runs. DeAndre Swift's long touchdown last week. That worked out well. I'm like, they're playing Minnesota this week. And Minnesota, the one thing the Bears have among their problems is defenses that disguise pressure. It's been a massive problem for Chicago all year. The offensive line, to my mind, is not coached up to figure it out. And I just didn't think Minnesota would miss this opportunity. Well, give the offensive coordinator credit. He's continuing to help Caleb Williams, getting it out quickly, like we said. And then you can see Williams getting some confidence. Now the Bears trailed in this game. And actually in the third quarter, at one point, they were down 24-10. And I'll go over kind of the game script and the game flow on this. So they were down. It wasn't like Williams having this great performance, but he had a little more confidence. And again, DJ Moore in a screen game. Keenan Allen had a big first quarter. And I apologize to those I recommended sitting him. He had an ankle injury. And to me, every time I've seen this guy hurt, he's like terrible. It must have been a nothing injury because Keenan Allen limited is normally like, well, good luck. But Keenan Allen goes off for 86 yards and a touchdown. DJ Moore goes over 100 yards, 106 and a touchdown. It's a 2-point conversion as well. The player we said to probably sit was Odunze, 5 for 39. If you needed him, it worked. But I kind of thought downfield wouldn't work against Minnesota because the pressure, but the Bears got the shorter stuff out. But Keenan Allen was good intermediate too. But anyway, let me go over to game flow with you on this one. So I said it was 24-10 Minnesota at the end of the third, and the fourth quarter and overtime got nutty. It was a theme today, right? Very crazy in the second half of these games. So DJ Moore catches a nice screen, well blocked, goes in for a 10-yard touchdown, and the Bears missed a 2-point conversion. But they're trying for that thing where if you make the 2-point conversion, next time in, you just go for 7 and you get the lead. Well, they're up 8. Or down 8, I'm sorry, Minnesota. Minnesota's up 8. And then the Vikings go 11 plays, 63 yards. They get it down to less than 2 minutes left. They go to field goal, and they are up 11 points. Game over, right? 27-16. It's the Bears. Well, Bears come chugging back. So they go 8 plays, 40 yards, and Keenan Allen catches a 1-yard touchdown pass, and then they get DJ Moore for the 2. And so now they're back within 3. But they have to get an onside kick. Good luck. Well, the onside kick, Cairo Santos kicks it. It hits Johnny Munt's leg, and the Bears end up falling on the ball. So now they got a little bit of time. There was probably about 15 seconds. Don't know exactly. And they had like one play, and they find DJ Moore wide open in the middle of the field, catches this thing in field goal range, gets down. It's 31-yard line. And they bring Santos out. Now, Santos had a kick blocked earlier in the game. And remember, last week he had one blocked at the end. Santos nails a 48-yarder. We go to overtime. Bears had a chance. They had the ball. Unable to convert. Unable to move it. And then Vikings come in and they win it with a field goal. So in this game, though, here's the thing. The Bears clearly made it a point with their great secondary to try to take away Justin Jefferson. Can you say they did? Statistically, yes. 2 catches, 27 yards on 5 targets. But, man, everybody else ate. Now, it took overtime for Hockenson to go 7 for 14, 114. Late in the fourth quarter in overtime, he piled up the numbers. But, hey, it all counts for fantasy. You love that. And then Jordan Addison did a lot of his damage in the first half. Jordan Addison career game, 8 for $162 and a touchdown, 9 targets. Obviously, with the Bears putting so much attention on Justin Jefferson, it just was easy to find everybody else. Aaron Jones rushes for 106 yards and a touchdown. Sam Darnold, 330 and 2 through the air. And they just, again, the Bears tried to make it a point to take away Justin Jefferson, but they have other weapons. And so nice in sentiment, but in reality, if you were an investor in Justin Jefferson, you certainly didn't like it. But if you had those other players, man, you were really, really excited. But for fantasy, it was a great game. I mentioned earlier, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet at 7 for 64. The running backs didn't do much for the Bears. Minnesota's an elite run defense. DeAndre Swift, 13 for 30. Roshan, you get lucky if you started him. He had a touchdown, 2 carries, 2 yards, a touchdown. He did catch a 10-yard pass, so there was that. But otherwise, really not a whole lot going on there for Roshan Johnson. But again, he got the touchdown, so that works. So anyway, the Bears are much improved with the new offensive coordinator. they're going to be inconsistent. There's going to be growing pains. But I think Caleb Williams is in a place where he can learn more right now. And then DJ Moore is engaged. And so this will build. Depending who they bring in to run the offense next year, this could be a really, really fun team to watch next year. I'll be interested to see how that goes. The Vikings, look, they're 9-2, have their flaws, but overall, if they get their offense going, Aaron Jones have kind of been in a bit of a slump, and if TJ Hawkinson keeps rolling back, it's going to be a fun team to watch in the postseason. It definitely could be that way. All right, instant reaction number 5. The Dolphins are trying to make a playoff push. So the Dolphins, look, they've been coming out hot. They had played that game, remember, against the Rams, and that defense came out spirited. And I thought, man, they look like they're playing for the Super Bowl here. It's like they had like this insane level of energy that you hadn't seen from them all year. But all right, so hats off to them. I go, yeah, they're really not going to keep that up, are they? Well, in this game, they played the Patriots. Big deal, the Patriots, right? But man, they paced the Patriots. 24 points in the second quarter. No scoring in the first quarter, slow starting. And Achane, statistically not a lot, but he scores 2 touchdowns through the air. So fantasy, you're fine. But again, continuing Jonnu Smith. Defense has got to worry about the speed of Hill, and they got to worry about the speed of Waddle, even though Waddle until today hadn't done much. And so Jonnu Smith just keeps going underneath, and the defense has to give it to him. And he's athletic, and he goes after the catch. 9 for 87 and a touchdown, 11 targets for Jonnu Smith. I mean, today, really, you've got Kittle, you got Bowers right at the top. Kelsey had a 2 for 4 last week. Could you make a case based on the last 6 weeks that Jonnu Smith could be like the 3rd tight end? I'm saying he's 5. I'm just saying he's 5 to kind of give myself comfort level, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he's in that conversation right now. He's been like 6 weeks relevant. He's had 3 big games in there. His down games are like 8 to 10 PPR points. And other than Kittle and Bowers, which nobody else is getting that. Like I said, Kelsey's had a couple like stinkers. So Jonnu Smith right now, incredible. I don't see it changing. Defenses have to approach the Dolphins a certain way. They cannot make Jonnu Smith a priority. And Mike McDaniel is clearly looking to get the ball every week. So there's that. Tyreek Hill, 5 for 48, but it's Waddle. Oh my gosh, the Waddle game. And here's the problem. People ask me in the start set questions, and look, how do I recommend Jalen Waddle? He had a game around 50 yards recently, but otherwise it's a bunch of 30s and 40s, and he's just not doing much. And he had games less than that. He had no indicators. Week 1, I think week 1 or week 2, he had 107 yards. It's been nothing. And blows up 8 for 144 and a touchdown. That's why I like being in some of the deep leagues I'm in. I have 1 share of Waddle. It's the Kings Classic. We have 14 teams, 3 flexes, very little on the waiver wire. When you draft a guy, if he's anything, you got to use him. So fortunately, Waddle has to be in my lineup. And so, he said, and people had like legitimate questions with good players that have been coming on. How do you recommend starting Waddle? But I'm going forward now. Now this is in his range of outcomes. This is potential upside he has. So now we got to view Waddle. Before he was just a low floor, low ceiling guy, because week 1 or 2 when he had the 107 yards, that was forever ago. Now it's boom bust, and that's a different story. When you're low floor, low ceiling, it's like find somebody else. But now you've got 28.4 PPR in your arsenal. We know he's talented. I mean, that's not a question. But that Tyreek Hill didn't do a lot. That bothers us. But Tua had the 4 touchdowns, a couple screens to Achane, the underneath pass to Smith counts, 317. But I think Tua is still on that fringe of quarterback 1, quarterback 2. You kind of trust him around there, and there's nothing wrong with that. Tua's a nice quarterback. I hope he doesn't get hit. I don't want him to get hit to the head again. I want him to stay healthy. Achane, look, some weeks the yardage has been good, but he finds a way into the end zone frequently. So obviously, I still see Achane as a top 7 running back. There's no, need me to convince you of that, because in the receiving game, he's been lethal. That's where both of his touchdowns came, 3 for 24, but 2 of them go in the end zone. So, but this one more thing, if you didn't know this, Raheem Mostert has been relegated out. It was last 2 weeks, 15% of the snaps. Jalen Wright played more. Jalen Wright had more touches. This week, I don't know what the snap count is, but Jalen Wright had 7 carries. Mostert had 2. Mostert had 1 catch for -3 yards. He and Wright had 1 target. Jalen Wright's the number 2. It's not turning into much. Jalen Wright's not much of a fantasy option. He had 28 yards, so there's that. But Mostert is not a fan. 3 weeks in a row, he is not a fan. He shouldn't. I mean, if you have a deep league and you got to keep him on a roster, fine. Whatever they're seeing in Miami, they are not using him. So you can't use him anymore, just for what it's worth. Hey, RotoWire covers all the fantasy sports. Did you know you can get a free 2-day trial with no credit card needed? To check everything out we have to offer, you go to rotowire.com/pod. Hey, we want to thank our sponsor, Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Whether it's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, Stadium Swim is America's favorite place to watch football. And thanks to everyone for listening. Come back next week for another edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast.